Welcome to episode 4 of Remake Rumble. You know, that's the show where we put up an original movie up against its remake movie to see which comes out on top. And in honor of the spooky season and month of October, got a special one for you. In one corner, fighting out of 1990 and responsible for an entire generation's fear of clowns, the TV miniseries that made Tim Curry an icon, Stephen King's It. And in the other corner, the modern two-part horror epic, a heavyweight blockbuster with a massive budget and a monstrously terrifying new clown, 2017's It and 2019's It Chapter 2, which take on Stephen King's massive novel truly reign supreme. One gave us a villain who was charmingly evil, the other gave us your otherworldly nightmare fuel. Today, we're gonna settle it. We're pitting the iconic miniseries against the terrifying modern films in the ultimate horror showdown. We're gonna break down the character portrayals, the scare tactics, and even get a ruling from the master of horror himself, Stephen King. This is Remake Rumble. By the end, only one's gonna float to the top. So make sure that you're subscribed and have that notification bell on because you won't want to miss our next clash. First up, it is the main event, the nightmare in grease paint, the eater of worlds himself, the Pennywise clash. This is definitely the heavyweight title fight of horror. And our two contenders, it couldn't really be more different. In the 1990 corner, we have the legendary Tim Curry. Curry's Pennywise is in many ways a classic clown. He tells cheesy jokes, he's got a gravelly wise guy voice, and he looks like he could have just stepped out of a circus tent. And that is his greatest weapon. He's approachable, almost disarmingly funny, which definitely makes his sudden turns to monstrous evil all the more shocking. He lures you in with the persona of a friendly entertainer before revealing the deadlights behind his eyes. Remember that Curry had to work with the limits of 90s TV, meaning less gore and fewer flashy effects. Instead, he relied on pure performance, a masterclass in turning from charming to chilling on a dime. His Pennywise is a predator hiding in plain sight. For decades, fans have been divided, and for a whole generation, he was the definitive face of fear. But then we have a new challenger that has emerged. Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise is a different beast entirely. From the moment you see him, you know that something is deeply wrong. I mean, he looks ancient and unsettling. His Victorian style outfit is grimy and his voice has this nightmarish off-filter rhythm. This Pennywise, he isn't pretending to be a funny clown. He's pretty openly monstrous. Skarsgård brought a deeply physical and otherworldly quality to the role. The way his eyes can drift in different directions, the unsettling drool, the twitchy movements, it all kind of screams alien. He for sure embodies this cosmic horror of the novel, a creature so far beyond human understanding that just looking at it feels dangerous. While Curry's Pennywise was a clown who secretly a monster, Skarsgård's is a monster barely bothering to disguise itself as a clown. So who do you think takes this round? It's a battle of two incredible yet fundamentally different horror philosophies. Curry's performance is definitely iconic and it burrows into your mind. But for sheer visceral, nightmare-inducing horror that feels true to the book's cosmic dread, I think that the point has to go to the new film. Skarsgård's Pennywise is a constant state of dread, an unforgettable movie monster that will haunt your dreams probably forever. Round 2. Let's talk about the Losers Club a little bit. Story about a killer clown is really nothing without the heroes who are trying to stop him. This round is really about the adult Losers Club, the casting, the chemistry, and really how well they recapture that spirit of their younger self. The 1990 miniseries assembled a cast of beloved TV actors. We have John Ritter as Ben, Richard Thomas as Bill, and Annette O'Toole as Beverly. There's an undeniable warmth to this group. When they reunite in that Chinese restaurant, you feel a real sense of shared history. However, the miniseries, because of its shorter run time, struggles to give the adult characters much depth. The storylines feel rushed sometimes, and the second half, which focuses mostly on the adults, is widely seen as the weaker part of the movie or the miniseries. The actors do their best, and it is an enjoyable ride, but they're held back by a script that has to cram hundreds of pages of character development into a very, very short time. Chemistry is there, but the emotional weight of their trauma, it feels a little bit more told than shown. Now, let's go to It Chapter 2. With a massive budget and a runtime of nearly 3 friggin' hours, dude, 2019 film had the space to let these adult characters breathe. And the cast here is pretty stacked too. James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain, and in a stroke of genius, Bill Hader as Richie. Casting in this film were praised for how well the adult actors really captured the mannerisms of their younger counterparts. The film really invests in exploring how their childhood trauma shaped their adult lives. Bill's guilt, Beverly's cycle of abuse, Eddie's hypochondria. This really gave their reunion a much heavier and more tragic weight. The chemistry is electric. Their banter, their arguments, and shared fear feel completely authentic. Bill Hader in particular, he kind of gives a standout performance, perfectly evolving Finn Wolfhard's Richie while adding a layer of heartbreak and sadness. The 2019 film just does a much better job at exploring the book's core theme, that the scars of your childhood, they never truly leave you. This round, in my opinion, is a much clearer victory. While the 1990 cast is charming, the actors in Chapter 2 had better material and delivered more nuanced, emotionally resonant performances. They really do feel like a true group of friends who are bound by this terrible secret. Round 3, folks. Let's talk about the scares a little bit. How you scare an audience is really just as important as the monster that you use. This round really comes down to which film is actually scarier. It's really a clash of styles. The 1990 miniseries Atmospheric Dread versus this modern film's CGI-fueled jump scares. The 1990 miniseries operated under strict rules of network television, and it is important to know that, because that meant that there was no R-rated gore and a limited budget for special effects. And because of that, director Tommy Lee Wallace, he had to rely on atmosphere, on suspense, and Tim Curry's performance to really get under your skin. The horror in the original is more psychological. Think of the creepy voice from the shower drain or the photograph in Georgie's room coming to life. The scares are really built on a slow burning sense of wrongness. But I mean, let's be honest, the budget limitations, they do really show, especially in the finale. That infamous spider puppet at the end is a prime example of an ambitious idea that just didn't really have the tech to back it up, often coming across more goofy than terrifying nowadays. The modern film, on the other hand, had a massive budget and had a hard R rating, and they use both to their full extent. The movies are a relentless barrage of gruesome imagery and shocking jump scares. Andy Muschietti, who's the director for these films, creates elaborate, terrifying set pieces, from the grotesque Mrs. Kirsch to a host of CGI monsters designed for maximum impact. The films are darker, they're bloodier, and far more aggressive. However, this reliance on CGI is also a criticism for some. The constant parade of digital monsters can sometimes feel overwhelming and, ironically, less real. The scares are loud and in your face, but do they linger in the same way? I think this is a tough one. The 1990 miniseries did more with less, creating a creepy atmosphere that really sticks with you, but it is undeniably dated. The new films deliver visceral, high-impact frights, even if they do sometimes overdo it, but for sheer ambition and the ability to deliver genuinely terrifying sequences in the modern era, the new films just barely edge out the original in raw scare power. The winner of this one, it has to go to the remakes. I was thinking about doing a round where we focus a little bit more on the box office, but with the original 1990s miniseries being for TV at the time, it really isn't a fair contest, and I feel like throwing that in there would be a bit biased. But I do think that it is worth mentioning that the 1990 miniseries was a huge major television event. It aired on ABC over 2 nights, and it was an absolute rating smash, pulling in an estimated 30 million viewers with its $12 million budget. For a TV miniseries, especially in the 90s, it definitely was a cultural phenomenon and definitely a huge success for the network. But let's get into our final round, man. There is one opinion that might matter more than any fan or critic, and that's the opinion of the creator himself, Stephen King. What does the master of horror think of these two very different adaptations? Stephen King has been pretty open about his feelings over the years. He has a real soft spot for that 1990s miniseries, especially considering the challenge of adapting his 1,100-page novel for TV. He once said that his expectations were in the basement but he was surprised by how good it was. He's always praised Tim Curry's iconic performance, acknowledging its legendary status.
Skarsgård was great as Pennywise, and he's got big shoes to fill. Let's face it, people remember Tim Curry as Pennywise the Clown, and they remember the look.
But he was also aware of the limitations of the time, particularly the budget and TV format. When the new films were released, King was overwhelmingly positive. I mean, he said that he was not prepared for how good It in 2017 was, and had praised the films for being more faithful to the spirit of his novel.
But I was not prepared for how good it really was. I'm sure my fans will enjoy the movie. I mean, I went back and saw it a second time, felt that I was seeing things the second time through that I'd missed the first time.
He really appreciated the R rating, which allowed the story's darker elements to be fully realized. While he holds a nostalgic appreciation for that original, as I think most of us do, his comments suggest a very clear preference for the modern films and their depth and cinematic quality. It seems he sees these new films as more of a complete vision of what he originally wrote. Very George Lucas of him. It is a respectful nod to the past, but a very clear endorsement of the new generation. And while King appreciates what the 1990 miniseries accomplished, he believes that the 2017 and 2019 films are the definitive adaptation of his work. Final round here goes to the new movies. That is about it, folks. The final bell has rung. It is definitely a clean sweep based on our 4 rounds. I think the Remake Rumble champion for episode 4 is the It duology of 2017 and 2019. Andy Muschietti's themes, with their massive budget, incredible casting, and faithfulness to the dark heart of King's novel, simply delivered a more complete and terrifying experience. The 1990 miniseries will forever be an iconic piece of horror history, and Tim Curry's performance is undeniably untouchable. It walked so that the new films could run, but in this showdown, the modern epic reigns supreme. But that is just my verdict. That's just how I feel about it. But I want to hear from you. Am I crazy? Is the nostalgia of the 1990 miniseries just too powerful to overcome? Which version of It is your favorite? Let me know down in the comments below. If you did enjoy this Remake Rumble, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Remake Rumbles. This is a weekly thing we got going on, and I definitely look forward to next week. But until next time, y'all stay geeked. I'm out. Be smooth.